What's up, guys? These are my top 10 reasons to wrestle. If you're new here, I'm Weston Wichman. I was a state runner-up in Wisconsin for high school and then a 3-year starter for a Division I program in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So if that interests you, hit that like and sub button. I got 10 reasons here. Honestly, number 10 is my favorite, so stick to the end of the video. They're all really, really good reasons and stuff that you probably can relate to. So number one, I just think it's the best sport in the world. And I think that, obviously, because I did it my entire life. But also it's a very, very hard sport. And some people would say like, oh, boxing or MMA is harder or something because you're taking more physical abuse during the fight. But I think that wrestling, kids do it from such a low age, right? They start when they're 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, that they're training their entire lives. And MMA, a lot of guys start when, they're like high teenagers, 19, ish, or like low 20s, and they start training and they hit their peak at, a lot of MMA fighters' peaks are like, early 30s and stuff like that. Some guys spanning into late 30s. So just as far as like competition level, I think wrestling is really, really hard. And it's just a grueling, tough sport. In general, we've all been in a workout where it's super tough. But I think from that, you appreciate moments a lot more in wrestling than you would in other sports. Because when it comes to individual competition, it's a lot more rewarding when you get what you want because of all of the hard things that you did. And it also encourages bonding between teammates because of how hard it is, which we'll get to both of those later down the line. But you just get to fall in love with the work process. And that's like one of the major things that I like about the sport is, even though it's really, really hard, if I work really hard at it, I'll probably get to a high level of success. Second thing is people you meet. People, like, it's kind of self-explanatory, right? I got a lot of teammates and friends from this sport. I think you probably get that in other sports, so it's nothing new to wrestling, but I do think it's a major factor of why I like wrestling. Like I said before, the hard workouts bond you, and you can just even meet someone and you see they got cauliflower ear or something like that, and you have an instant connection with them. Number 3 is you control your own success, which I really like. It's not a team sport for the most part. It's an individual sport, so whether you win or lose is completely on you. And some people might shy away from that, but I actually like it a lot more. When I was growing up, I played plenty of team sports, and I absolutely hated that. I wanted to win more than 99% of my teammates, and I wanted it more than them, and they were looking to have fun, which is fine. It's just not what I wanted at the time, so it's super frustrating. I went to freaking win. So I think that's why partially I was drawn to wrestling, was because my want to win directly correlated to me winning or not, and my want for success directly correlated to me succeeding or not because of the hard work that I put in. Number 4 is life lessons the sport teaches you. I think with anything hard that you do, you're going to learn life lessons from it. So wrestling's a prime example. You learn resilience, you learn perseverance, you learn hard work, you learn how to study something, you learn how to drill something over and over and over and over to get really, really good at it. And then you also learn that, not very many people go on this explosion of wrestling where it's like they start wrestling and they're instantly the best at it. It's a very long, grueling process, so you also learn that success takes time. But there are spurts of success in there that you can get, like short period success, that keep you motivated through that long time of reaching like an ultimate level of success in the sport. So number 5, the places it takes you. So I think other sports take you plenty of places if you get to a high level of them, but just wrestling in general, just even from a young age, takes you around the country if you want to. There's plenty of national tournaments that you can go to in different states and stuff like that you can compete in, and it's because of you that you're going there. I think it all boils down to like, it's because of you that you're going there and you feel that success and it feels good. So you're not going there because you're on a travel team for baseball but you sit the bench or something like that. You're going there because you're good enough to wrestle there, and this is why we're going. And then obviously just college. Other sports take you to college as well, but it's a good opportunity if you get really, really good at wrestling and you want to wrestle in college. It's a good opportunity to go to college, possibly partly paid for or fully paid for, and see a new part of the country and live in that part of the country as well, and not just visit it. So, which I think is really, really cool. Number 6 is self-confidence. I think this is a big one, especially in today's age where I feel like self-confidence maybe is not a thing that America is very high in right now. And it's like true self-confidence, not this false built-up self-confidence from people telling you you're awesome. It's true self-confidence in the fact that, you go out and you will it's you versus another guy, and you will yourself upon him and force him to lose the wrestling match, right? And I think that gives you self-confidence like no other sport, right? You physically beating someone up gives you a confidence level that no matter how many people talk you up, I don't think you'll have that confidence level ever. So you being able to physically beat people up, I think, is a super cool thing to be able to just know in your mind that you can do. The second part of that is self-belief, right? Again, going back to wrestling is really, really tough. There's a lot of tough things in life that, are like wrestling or not like wrestling. They're hard in different ways. And so once you've done wrestling, like that Dan Gable quote, once you wrestled, everything else in life is easy. I don't know if everything else in life is easy, but you know how to do hard things. So then, you can just do hard things in other areas as well. And you're not looking at it and like, dang, that's hard. And you believe in yourself. You're like, I've done hard things before, I can do this. Number 7 is the honest pursuit of greatness, which is one of my favorite things about the sport. You're seeing it get traded a little bit right now with NIL stuff in college, just with being able to make money and stuff, which I think is great. It's not a bad thing in the sport. We need more money in wrestling and guys sticking around and making money in wrestling. So I'm not saying it's bad, but my whole life I didn't make any money wrestling, and I still wanted to be great at it, which is, I feel like, not a driving factor in other sports sometimes. And if everyone wants to be an NFL player when they're young. Why do they want to be an NFL player? Because they're rich and famous and they play in the NFL. Everyone wants to be an NBA player, right? Because they're rich and famous and play in the NBA. You look at wrestlers and you're like, why do you want to be a wrestler? Because, I want to go to I want to pay to go wrestle in college, and compete against the best. And it's like, well, when you look at it that way, it's like, you got to really freaking love this thing to want to reach a high level, because there's not much of a payoff at the end of it, right? I think if you win the Olympics or world tournament in wrestling, it's like $250,000. Not saying that's not a lot of money, but if you look how much work gets put into that $250,000, that ain't that much money. Number 8 is just the wrestling family. It's kind of like, number 2, where it's like people you meet. But I just think the wrestling family is a great community. I think a lot of them come from hard work and, this maybe not blue collar background, but like a blue collar-ish community, where we all know how much work gets put into this sport. The dog's moving the camera again. And I think that kind of knits the community really, really tight and creates like a family bond. I kind of, I found it at AWA when I started training there in high school, and then I found it at Chattanooga when I was wrestling in college. So I really think the wrestling community is a great community, and I think it's great to be part of it. Number 9 is the lifestyle wrestling gives you. I like being healthy. I like being active, even though I've been slacking the last couple weeks. I think wrestling just forces you to become very, very active, very fit, and live a lifestyle that, makes success happen. You're eating healthy, you're working hard, you're going to sleep on time, your diet's clean. At the highest level, these things are important, and it's a lifestyle, and not very many people, if any, reach the top of the, top of the mountain of wrestling without making it a lifestyle. So it forces you to be zoned into that vision and like tunnel vision down the line. I enjoyed that aspect. I liked being focused on wrestling, and nothing else around me was getting in the way of that. So number 10, and probably my favorite one, is anyone can achieve success in the sport. In basketball, if you're not over 6 foot, I don't even know how tall you gotta be in basketball, but I would assume it's like, I think the average basketball player is like 6'4", which is ridiculous. Like, you look at how many people in the world are 6'4", it's not that many. Football player, you got to be this big guy, and all these other sports, if you don't have the genetics to get there, the more than likely you're gonna fail at some point. You could probably reach a very, very high level, but at some point you're gonna fail just because of genetics, and I really hate that. Especially for people that are super passionate about the sport. But in wrestling, that's not a thing. Any body style can be impressive and good. you know, a 125 pounder has a lot different body style than a heavyweight, obviously, and they're both can be uber successful in wrestling. So that's one of my favorite things about it. You don't have to be fast. You don't have to be, you know, the quickest or the strongest, or the shortest, the weak, tallest. You know, you can just be yourself and become successful if you figure out your own puzzle and you figure it out. So that's my 10 favorite things about wrestling and why you should wrestle and why wrestling is the greatest sport in the world. Again, if you enjoyed this, I appreciate you sticking around to the end. It helps out the YouTube algorithm. Like and subscribe. I appreciate you guys.